Okay, today I'm joined by Louis Frank, the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Fingreen.ai, an AI powered platform which helps people streamline ESG data management and reporting. So, welcome to the podcast, Louis.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Uh, First of all, can we start at the beginning? How did you get started in this area? Did you come at it from the AI side, the reporting side, or sustainability? What were your first steps into this area?
Yeah, so actually my background is neither in AI or in sustainability. I actually was fortunate enough to go study in the US at NYU, which is quite very, liberal, open, not representative of the rest of America. And so I did one internship in San Francisco at Plug and Play, and their kind of sustainability startup vertical. So that was my first kind of experience with sustainability and with startups. Came back to France to finish my studies in a business school, and right after that, kind of wanted to launch my own startup. And the two things I knew most was like fintech and therefore kind of sustainability. For me, if you launched any company today, you kind of need to have sustainability at the core of your offering, in a sense.
Yes.
And so that's kind of how Fingreen started. It actually started as a B2C investment platform for young people, like, wanting them to invest in sustainable companies. But what does sustainable mean? And then I got down into the rabbit hole of like, yeah, sustainability, the European taxonomy, the European Green Deal. And so kind of quickly we pivoted from B2C to B2B reporting because that was kind of the new thing. That was also very much simpler to launch than like an investment platform, which takes years to kind of have the agreements, cost a lot of money in marketing. You're battling against the big guys. And so, yeah, we made that switch. AI. So we were created like 9 months before ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But we took inspiration from a couple of companies that were already kind of talking and using AI to streamline reporting. So background in neither of those, I would say, but kind of quickly realized that both AI and sustainability were kind of like, yeah, the two biggest challenges I would say of our century.
Right. What contribution can AI make to sustainability reporting? What does it
Yeah,
add?
so I think it can actually help at every single step of the way, right? And funny enough, today's sustainability reporting, if you look at the CSRD, for example, 70% of the reporting is actually qualitative, right? It's about
Mm.
writing down stuff. So obviously, if you can use AI and LLM specifically, that has a very granular understanding of a company, a very granular understanding of the regulation, it can actually help draft these very long answers and policies and even double materiality assessments very, very quickly, very, very efficiently. Obviously, we never use AI without human validation at the end, right? That's
Yeah.
super, super important. So obviously, it's in our name, right? We push AI at every single step of the process as much as possible. And I talked about writing down stuff, but for anomaly detection, for benchmarking, for extracting data from documents, like all of that, AI is actually very useful. It's still in its infancy in a way, so you still need a lot of guardrails and human kind of validation. But our kind of whole thesis is around AI can help save 80% of your time on the measurement, data collection, reporting aspect, which let's not lie, it's a bit boring, right? It's a bit like chronophage is the French word. It takes a lot of time. And so ESG teams and ESG consultants can really kind of focus on implementation, right? The human aspect of like improving optimization, reducing the impact of the company on the environment. So for us, AI has a tremendous added value on the reporting, measurement, first side of things, because you cannot optimize something that you don't measure very well. And now with all of these brand new regulations, right? Obviously CSRD, TAXO, SFDR, et cetera, but also ISSB and a lot of international regulations coming in, we will definitely see AI take a big, big role in this step. And even in financial regulations, right? We're starting to see AI kind of freeing up a lot of this time that was spent by humans kind of very heavy, very not that value added in terms of what a human can do, right? So
Yeah.
it will free up a lot of time. And on the other hand, gain a lot on precision, transparency, and efficiency.
Yes. Well, one of my clients is a global brand, but who I won't name. They say they spend 50% of their time on reporting and 50% of their time actually doing stuff. Do you have
Yeah.
any feel for how much of balance shift there can be in that balance?
I mean, I heard, it's funny because I heard like, ESG team saying we spend 80% of our time during the year doing the whole data collect. And now with the CSRD, it's 100% of our time,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So yeah, to be honest, I really, really think it all depends on each company, right? Each company is different because they have different amount of public data available. They have different kind of ESG readiness level within the company. But from what we've seen, and we're still kind of a young company, but you can say like 60 to 80% of your time using AI, right? And we can go over what that means and being very smart about it. But yeah, I can definitely see, let's say the balance, as you say, let's say it's 50-50, even though it's more like 70-30 in reality. You can go to like spending maybe 20%, right, on the kind of measurement rewarding. Obviously, the first years when there's brand new regulations, obviously take a little bit more time, right, because it's very new. You need to collect data for the first time, etc. So hopefully we can go to a place where 80% of the year is spent on actually implementing measures and guiding people to lower the impact of the company on the planet.
Yeah. Now, on the flip side, one of the things that worries me about AI, and I have to say that my personal experience of AI is limited to coding a neural network 30 years ago, but it was very much a black box. You put data in and you hope to get an answer out. Do you lose anything by taking away that human element, even though it's grinding through data and very boring, that you lose a bit of the understanding of what the data actually means in its context?
Yeah, so that's super interesting. And that's a little bit the core of our mission, right? Our whole mission is around fighting greenwashing, fighting black boxes. All of these ESG scorings for the past 15 years are basically black boxes, right? And you've seen, I mean, you heard a lot about ESG disparity in the scoring, and there's a lot of problems in there. To play a little bit devil's advocate, before a universal standard like the taxonomy, it was obviously a bit tougher to do. But for us, we really want to have impeccable traceability and transparency, right? And that's goal, right? It's obviously tough to get there, but we're actually the first company to have published an open source our entire methodology. And in terms of the AI, we just released actually a feature where every single AI suggestion can be traced back and will show you where the AI has kind of gathered the information on either public or private data to get to that suggestion. Okay. Mm-hmm. There's also things like explainable AI, which are, explainable mechanism of how the AI actually works. I'm not going to pretend as if like we perfectly understand, how LLMs get to this, especially not myself. However, I think you can use AI while still having transparency and traceability. That's exactly what we're trying to do. But it's definitely a lot better than what we've seen in the last 15 years from MSCI, Sustainalytics, just random scores, right? 10 out of 10, 3 planets out of 5, 100 plants out of 150. Like it's so weird, all of these kind of ESG scoring. So yeah, transparency is at the core of everything we do. We always try to have perfect traceability. That's good, let's say, from a moral standpoint, but it's also very good from an auditability standpoint, right?
Yeah.
Everything that we're doing, we have in mind that all of our clients will be audited on their SFDR, CSRD, taxonomy, ISSB, etc. So we're constantly trying to think about how can we keep that, and even using AI actually gain more transparency than using humans.
Right. And in practice, how does it work? What if somebody signs up to your platform? How will they work differently than if they were doing all this by hand or spreadsheets, whatever else it might be?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've talked to a lot of people doing CSRD right now, but doing CSRD manually through spreadsheet is a real pain. And I don't think a lot of people in a couple of years will still be doing it by hands. First, it's very simple. Basically, what we want to do is when you subscribe to our platform, it's an annual license. we want to do a very quick setup, right? Literally like 3 to 4 minutes where you input the most basic information about your company.
Mm-hmm.
We go out there and basically scrape the entire internet for everything that's ever been written about your company. We have a reliability score, so we only take, reliable sources out of the internet. We don't want to take everything. Then you can upload any private data that you have, right? So any investor deck, HR report, previous sustainability reporting. You drop everything in here. So it takes you kind of 3 to 5 minutes to do everything. And then our AI assistant will kind of gather all of that information. It has all the context of the CSRD or SFDR or whatever the framework you are doing right now. And it will automatically pre-fill the next step of your reporting. So in a CSRD, it's a double materiality assessment, right? So value chain items, stakeholders, IROs. Maybe you've done your DMA already, so it's going to pre-fill your ESRS, right? And these are only suggestions, right? So a human has to go through every single step, validate, modify, reject, can add stuff manually as well. But so in a 5-minute setup, how can I already pre-fill 70% of your entire ESG framework reporting? That's the whole goal, right? Obviously, there's so many nuances and so many small things in there, but our goal is, okay, on all the qualitative aspects of things, so the entire DMA and 70% of the ESRS, well, if an AI has all what that's ever been written about your company plus private data and the kind of context of what framework it is fitting, it can do that in literally 5 minutes, right? So you then take in 5 minutes of setup and 5 minutes for the AI to actually work out everything and start writing out everything. And one very interesting thing, and where I think there's the most kind of innovation going on, is on the quantitative questions, right? Because this is more complicated than qualitative. You actually have to go and gather specific data from specific sources. So in there, we just release kind of AI suggestions, AI helpers, benchmarking, looking at what other companies are doing to kind of guide you through the process. So you're not left alone, even on the quantitative questions. And at the end, very simple, we do the exports in the formats required. So it can be XHTML, XBRL, PDF, et cetera, et cetera.
It just struck me while you were talking about, scraping the internet for information about businesses. Is there any scope for using the same technology to do basically supply chain audits? The whole process of auditing companies and all these platforms that try and reduce the risk of particular suppliers is usually data uploaded by those companies, and then people go out and audit them, and they hope that they're auditing the right part of the company, that there aren't sort of black sites hidden away and where the conditions aren't so good. Is there any scope for actually using a very similar method to reduce the risk in supply, complex global supply chains?
Yeah, definitely. We're getting actually a lot of requests on both supply chains and audit, separately. Yeah. The audit, we mentioned it briefly. It's such an important part, it's the next big step of all of these brand new reporting, right? Is how do we audit them? On the supply chain, it's a bit like you don't know what you don't know, right? Yeah. So if it's a black site that's nowhere on the internet, nowhere on private data, well, it's not magic. However, this technology, which is actually more NLP than AI, right? Just scrapping the internet on a specific target, yeah, is indeed extremely useful. For us, it's very useful to give as much context to the AI as possible. But yeah, we want to become a tool as well for auditors. That's one of our kind of module that we want to release quite quickly, because we're getting really good at doing the reporting itself. So it's a bit natural to go into the audit phase as well. Supply chains, listen, I've learned that supply chains are pretty tricky, right? That's not mine, that's yours. Like a very kind of a bit shady business in a sense around supply chain. So I don't want to talk too much about it because it's not something that we are experts on, but audit is definitely something that we want to bring a tool out that is super precise, super transparent, and as automated as possible to make the life of the auditors as simple. And actually on the audit, it's interesting because on our platform we have kind of automated audit logs. So every time someone changes something, adds some things, uploads the documents, like everything is recorded, right? And then it's stored in an ESG data room. So Yeah, on the supply chain, we will probably, tackle that specifically right now. For now, we only do supply chain in the context of a CSRD or SSB, etc. So yeah, these are kind of exciting potential applications.
Yeah. Um, there was a report in the press recently that Google's emissions had risen by nearly 50% since 2019, which was their base year for net zero, and that was put down to the processing intensity of AI.
Yeah.
Um, you know, are we at risk of while streamlining the data process internally, which allows you to do more work, or is there a sort of rebound effect on the energy consumption of all those algorithms out there churning away in data centers?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely the biggest problem of AI by far is electricity consumption, right? It is absolutely massive. For us, like we're a super small company, we're using existing bricks and existing LLMs, so we do not have the hand on kind of electricity consumption. We want to publish kind of a feature to see how much electricity you use every time you generate suggestion, just to have a tracking, right? To have a measure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say that unfortunately that doesn't fall on our, like we won't have really any impact on electricity consumption of AI. All the big guys, the Google, OpenAI, etc., are working very actively on that. But this is not a problem that I really know much about. It is definitely the biggest flaw, right? And my hope is that we will use AI to solve the problem of electricity consumption of AI. Right now, we're definitely in a bit of a race, right, towards AGI and things like that. Yeah, it is a big flaw. Here in France, I would say that we have a very good kind of energy policy with nuclear power.
Yeah.
We're definitely big fans of because it's decarbonated electricity solution that works really, really well for a very, very large amount of people. So my very personal cultural approach would be to say that nuclear power should definitely be one of the big solutions for that. Renewable energies, obviously solar power could, power the entire humanity, like with not that big of a piece of land.
Yeah.
So I think we will have the answers. Right now, it's just a bit of a race. So this is what's going on. But yeah, we have very, very limited kind of impact on that at the end of the day.
Yeah. I assume this is the reason why so many of the big tech companies are very large purchasers of green energy, is because they're going to have to, or else things are going to look pretty bad. So going back to reporting,
maybe one question for you. One question for you. Like, what do you think about it? And even from a UK perspective, right, in terms of energy and clean electricity, what is kind of you guys' approach or view on that?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't often get questions thrown at me. As I say, I think some of the tech companies are leading in this, and doing things like locating server farms north of the Arctic Circle, so they don't have to have air conditioning. They can just open a vent on the wall, and purchasing green energy. I would need to have a look at how much AI is being used to to streamline reporting, and how much of it's used to produce pictures of the Pope in a white puffer jacket, because it, like all these things, it it depends. I suspect, and I suppose this was going back to my next question, is in the future we will see AI being used a lot in predicting weather patterns, in looking at optimizing an electricity grid systems so they can be used more efficiently. But until all that's done, I don't know what the trade-off is between the costs and the benefits in energy use. I have invited somebody on to talk about this, and he was going to come on, but he hasn't yet. So I hope I can get that answer from a more informed source than me talking off the top of my head, to be frank. But going back to that, looking forward for you, what are the next steps? What's the next expansion of what you do?
Yeah, so as of today, we are in 8 countries, right? So 7 of them are in Europe, right? This is kind of our main client base. But I mean, you see the spread of ESG regulations, right? And the speed at which it is adopted, which is a good thing. It should go even faster, in our opinion. For us, once again, we're a small startup, so we have all the challenges of the just regular startups, raising funds, small resources, competition against the big guys, et cetera, et cetera. So for us, it's really about kind of consolidating the product that we have today, which is really, really good, and as contrary to like 90% of our competitors, like we don't do any consulting, right? Rather, we equip a lot of kind of consulting cabinets, but we're really focused on the technological aspect. We're just a tech tool and a technological infrastructure, right? So now we have validated actually our thesis that AI can drastically save a lot of time for these people. Now we want to kind of expand that to other international ESG frameworks, right? ISSB is going to be a big one. It's going to be the CSRD, I think, of 2024. And then in a medium term, we want to open it up to different asset classes. Okay, so we're really specific on kind of private assets, non-listed assets. Today, we only do companies. In the medium term, we want to open it up to real estate as well, because you have the same challenges, right? Each building is different, hard to get the data, et cetera, et cetera. It's not for right now. We still have a lot of work to do on all of these different frameworks, on all of these different companies, but this is definitely where we want to go because it actually works pretty well.
Before I invite guests on, I don't have the technology to scrape the internet for information. I look at their LinkedIn profile and I saw a picture of you on top of Kilimanjaro waving the Fingreen flag. So tell us the story behind that.
Yeah, so that I was inspired by a couple of friends of mine that did it, and we did it with other friends of mine. I think it was 3 years ago now. And yeah, definitely, I think maybe the best trip of my life. No phones for a week. First of all, that's amazing. Like, when is the next time it's going to happen? And we actually attempted to do Mont Blanc as well last summer. Couldn't do it because of the weather, but yeah, kind of made me fall in love with alpinism.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things to be done. And I grew up in Paris, did my studies in New York, so spent my whole life in a city. So anytime I can go out a little bit into nature, I'm like a kid. So yeah, hopefully I can do more of that.
And we'll see the Fingreen flag flying from more peaks.
Definitely, that's the goal.
It was quite unique. I assume it was a genuine picture, wasn't AI generated.
No. That was even before the LLM model. No, entirely unique.
Okay, thanks very much, Lee. I think that's been a fascinating insight. Now, if anybody's interested in Fingreen, how should they get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can go on our website. You can send an email at contact@fingreen.ai or reach out to me personally on LinkedIn. Any of those 3 is good.
Right. Brilliant. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
I hope people got an insight into the use of AI, which is obviously a growing part of all life, not just sustainability reporting.
Yeah, and hopefully, it can help a lot on global warming, ecological transition. That's maybe one of its best use cases.
Fantastic. Thanks, Lee.
Thank you very much, Gareth.